27 bodies, hands bound, skulls crushed, buried by a lake that dried up 10,000 years ago. This is not a crime scene. This is one of the oldest known battles in human history. Before farms, before cities, before writing, someone already knew how to kill in groups. And the reason they did it is still sitting inside you right now. You check your phone before you check on your family. You lock your door before you say goodnight. Somewhere in your chest, a low hum of vigilance never fully switches off. You call this stress, but the real answer is far stranger. That hum is a message. It was sent by the people found at that lake, and it has never stopped playing. For a long time, scientists believed early humans were peaceful. Small bands, wandering, sharing meat around a fire. No reason to kill each other. It was a comforting story. It was also wrong. That lake has a name, Nataruk, in what is now Kenya. In 2012, a team led by archaeologist Marta Mirazon-Lar excavated it and found exactly what the story above described. Men, women, children, arrow wounds still lodged in bone, hands bound before death. This wasn't an accident. This wasn't a single fight that spiraled out of control. This was a group ambushed by another group roughly 10,000 years ago. Before farms, before cities, before writing, before the wheel. This is one of the oldest known massacres in human history, and it forces a brutal question: why? To answer that, you have to understand what life actually looked like back then. No fences, no borders, no police, just small bands of 20 to 50 people moving across a landscape that could feed them or starve them depending on rainfall, migration patterns, and luck. Resources were not infinite, they never are. And when a lake starts to shrink, when the fish thin out, when the herds move somewhere else, two groups of humans can suddenly find themselves needing the exact same patch of land to survive. Anthropologist R. Brian Ferguson has spent decades studying the origins of human conflict. His research points to something uncomfortable. War doesn't require civilization. It doesn't require greed or ideology or revenge. It only requires scarcity and two groups who see each other as separate. Your ancestors were extraordinary cooperators. Inside the group, humans built trust unlike any other primate. They shared food. They raised each other's children. They mourned together. But that same intense loyalty has a shadow side. The safety you feel with your own people was built by defining who is not your people. Once a boundary exists between us and them, something ancient activates. Fear of the outsider. Fear of losing what little you have. Fear that if you hesitate, they will strike first. At Nataruk, the wounds tell a story of ambush, not confrontation. Nobody was standing in a formation, facing an enemy head-on. This looks like people caught by surprise, killed while gathering food, killed while resting. Archaeologist Stephen LeBlanc, who has examined ancient conflict sites across multiple continents, describes early warfare as rarely heroic. It was raids. It was night attacks. It was killing the ones who could not fight back, because that was safer than facing the ones who could. Does that sound familiar? It should. Because you still do a version of this today. You still divide the world into us and them, even when the stakes are nothing more than a rival sports team or a political opinion or a comment on a screen. Your brain still reaches for the same ancient sorting mechanism. Group loyalty, threat detection, suspicion of the unfamiliar face. The specifics have changed. The wiring has not. Here is the part that reframes everything. War was not invented by kings or empires or armies with iron weapons. War, in its earliest form, may simply be what happens when cooperative animals compete over a shrinking world. Humans are not unique in this. Chimpanzees, our closest living relatives, have been observed by primatologists conducting coordinated lethal raids against neighboring troops. Silent approaches, ambush, killing, then retreat. It looks disturbingly similar to what happened at Nataruk, thousands of years and an entirely different species apart. So maybe the question isn't why did the first war happen? Maybe the question is why did anyone expect it not to? And yet, the story doesn't end there, because for every ambush, there is also evidence of something else. Evidence of trade, evidence of shared tools passed between distant groups, evidence of intermarriage between communities who had every reason to remain strangers. Your ancestors were capable of both. Brutal violence toward outsiders and radical generosity toward the people they chose to call their own. The line between those two responses was never about human nature being good or evil. It was about which side of the line you happen to be standing on. That is the uncomfortable truth Nataruk leaves behind. Not that humans are naturally violent, not that humans are naturally peaceful, but that the same brain capable of raising a stranger's child can also justify ending a stranger's life, depending entirely on how the lines are drawn. Today, you draw those lines constantly, often without noticing. A different accent, a different flag, a different app. Your nervous system still runs the same ancient calculation underneath the noise. Is this person one of mine or one of theirs? Every act of dehumanizing language, every online pile-on against a faceless stranger, every instinct to distrust someone simply because they belong to a different group is a faint echo of a fire that was lit at Nataruk and never fully went out. But here is what those 27 skeletons cannot tell you, and what only you can decide. The line between us and them is not fixed. It moves. It has always moved. 10,000 years ago, it could shrink a person's entire world down to 50 faces. Today, you have the ability to draw that line around all of humanity, if you choose to. Your ancestors fought because the world felt too small to share. You get to choose whether it still does. So tonight, when you feel that low hum of vigilance, that quiet suspicion of someone unfamiliar, remember where it came from. It is not a flaw. It is an inheritance. And like any inheritance, you get to decide what you do with it.